Hello, one and all! So season 2 of The Promised Neverland ended about a week ago, and I think we can all agree it was bad. It was really, really bad. I mean, I think the season had a few highlights, a few moments it did better than manga, but just, oh my god, that last episode is so hard to defend, especially the last 5 minutes of it, which were just so utterly, utterly confusing. I really doubt many, anime-only viewers actually understood what it was trying to say, so I thought it'd be a good idea for me to make a video summarizing everything that was cut out from the manga. And I do mean summarized because, oh my god, so much was cut out from the manga that if I was to include every last detail in this video, it would be over 6 hours long, and I do not have time for that, but yeah, let's get into this. Now, the very first episode already had fans complaining that things felt rushed, and for good reason. The first episode was comprised of 8 chapters of the manga. And for comparison, the entire first season was composed of only about 30 chapters, so yeah, they shoved a lot in there at once, though nothing too important was skipped over except this weird mini-arc of them being eaten by a tree and needing to escape from it. Yeah, that wasn't all that interesting. Nothing of significance is really cut until we get to Sonja and Mujika. Now, while Sonja's explaining everything to them, he also explains to them about mass production farms. Now, this is a term that's used quite often in the anime, but it's never actually explained. Now, Emma, Ray, and the rest of them could be considered free-range children, they're allowed to run around, be free, get an education, do all that fun stuff, at least till they turn 12. Most of the human meat that's used to feed demons comes from mass production farms, which basically treats the kids like veal. No mental stimulation, no freedom of movement, they're basically just force-fed until they grow big enough to be, harvested. So, yeah, very, very grim and very dark. I'm not sure why the anime didn't include that, but whatever. The next important thing that was cut out was when Mujika and Emma say goodbye. Mujika tells Emma that she needs to find the 7 walls and overcome them in order to find the future that she desires. And this is a very, very important plot point that's not really brought up again for another arc or two, so I wasn't too surprised when this wasn't included in the anime. But then we get to the bunker and things take a very, very drastic turn because, yeah, the bunker was empty in the anime, but it wasn't supposed to be. There was supposed to be a guy inside the bunker, the person who wrote help over and over again on the walls. Yugo, though he doesn't actually give his name for a good 30, 40 chapters, so the community just dubbed him Bunker Daddy, which, yeah, that sounds appropriate. Now, Yugo is a very angry, grumpy man who tries to convince Emma to leave by holding her up at gunpoint, but thanks to a mixture of his severe PTSD and Emma punching him in the balls, they're able to restrain him long enough for them to explore the bunker. And when he eventually gets free, Emma convinces him to be their guide to go to Goldie Pond, the next destination the pen is leading them towards. And if he says no, she threatens to blow up the entire bunker. Oh, I love Crazy Emma. But this won't be an easy journey, and in order to make it, they're going to be well-armed. Not with bows and arrows, with freaking guns! Yeah, for whatever reason, the anime decided they didn't want to show kids holding guns, so they just censored all the guns out of it and just had Ray using a bow and arrow for the entire season, which, weird. Very, very weird choice, but whatever. Anyway, so they're heavily armed, they go into the woods to head towards Goldie Pond, and Yugo immediately leads them into a trap where they're surrounded by demons. Oh no! But thanks to this encounter, Emma and Ray are able to figure out that Demon's weakness is Central Eye. If you do any damage to that whatsoever, they won't be able to regenerate and will essentially die. Yay! But then, Emma is kidnapped and brought to Goldie Pond, and it looks a whole lot like Disney World, which is very, very unnerving. This place was created by William Minerva as a sanctuary, a safe place where the farm children can go to live their lives without fear of being hunted down by the demons anymore. And the term Goldie Pond actually comes from an underground lake, which contains an elevator to the human world, which, super convenient. This does, however, come with a choice, because if any farm child went to the human world, they would essentially be breaking the promise, and that could lead to a full-blown war between the humans and the demons that could kill millions. So, yeah, William Minerva created this with the choice, farm children, if you hate the world enough where you think, all right, let's let it all burn, take the elevator, go to the human world, you have that choice, you have that right. After all I've taken from you, just go ahead, do it if you want to. But if you want to just, live your lives free and happily, just stay here. I made this great place for you. Isn't that nice? Unfortunately, though, after William Minerva was betrayed by Petey, Petey destroyed the elevator and turned Goldie Pond into a hunting ground for rich demons. Basically, he provides them with some farm children, and then they're free to hunt them to their heart's content, which, oh, that's grim. Yeah, that's very, very grim. This is also why Yugo is so traumatized. He and his other siblings, after they escaped from the farms, they made it to Goldie Pond, only to be hunted by the rich demons, and then his whole family was wiped out before him, and he ran away back to the bunker, and has been hiding out there for the last decade. So, yeah, that's gonna cause a whole lot of mental trauma to him. though as it turns out his one sibling, Lucas, actually managed to survive and formed an underground resistance which has been planning to fight back against demons for all these years. Yay! And one member of the resistance worth pointing out is Adam, who is this hulking monstrosity who keeps whispering the same number over and over again, 22194, which apparently Emma doesn't hear because she would recognize that as being Norman's neck tattoo, which is how we find out that Norman is still alive. Yay, Norman! And then the hunt begins once again, but this time the demons are the ones being hunted, and slowly, one by one, they are all killed until all that's left is Grand Duke Luvis, who is on a whole nother level compared to the rest of the demons because he is royalty. He is the brother of the queen and one of the strongest demons in the entire world, even with his old age. And he's probably the nicest of the demons who are currently hunting children for sport because he's willing to wait 10 minutes for Emma to set up her trap for her allies to show back up and lend her a helping hand, so... Okay, that's nice of you, Grand Duke Luvis, I guess. And what follows is an absolutely ridiculously insane spectacle of bullets and flash bombs and everything else that eventually ends with Grand Duke Luvis being killed after Ray and Yugo show up and lend a helping hand. Huzzah! And then they utterly, completely obliterate Goldie Pond, destroying every last trace of it. Yay! Anyway, from here, Em decides she needs to find out more about the Seven Walls, and this leads her to a demonic version of Stonehenge, where she has a psychic connection with a demonic godlike being and his pet dragon who shows her visions of the past. No, I am not joking. This really does happen in the manga. It gets super, super weird. And this being, we actually saw him very briefly in the anime, he's never really explained all that much. He's a higher dimensional being, whatever that means. I mean, a lot of people said, oh, he's a demon god, but I don't think that's actually accurate because the promise that he created apparently goes against the religion that Sonju follows, so he is clearly not Sonju's god, so very, very curious about that. But the wiki just refers to him as the One. I refer to him as the Promise Keeper, the Promise Maker, something like that. He's weird. He's really, really weird. Anyway, after her psychic encounter with him, Emma eventually finds out how she can make a new promise, but before she can implement that, she's attacked by Andrew and the mercenaries. Oh no, because this is so much more exciting than manga. So much more exciting, with it eventually becoming a full-blown shootout between Yugo, Lucas, and all the mercenaries that eventually ends with Yugo and Lucas blowing up the bunker, killing themselves, and the mercenaries with them. Such a good death. Such a good death for both these characters. I freaking loved it. Unfortunately, though, Andrew somehow managed to survive, even though half his face is missing. And he goes on this long rant about how Emma and the rest of them are just food. They've always been food. They can't have hopes and dreams because they're nothing but food. And then he gets attacked and eaten by a demon, which is, oh god, one of the best manga deaths of all time. Oh, I freaking loved that. So wish we'd seen that in the anime. So wish we'd seen that in the anime. And after all that, Emma and the rest of them decide to head towards William Minerva's base after they received a message for him right before the bunker was attacked. And it is this giant, amazing treehouse city that looks so cool. And then they meet the man himself. They meet William Minerva, who turns out to be Norman. Yay! Tearful reunion, all that. Love it. And then, Norman reveals the whole thing of him planning on committing mass genocide against the demons. And Emma counters that she doesn't actually want to commit mass genocide against the demons. And this is where things diverge quite heavily from the anime, as Emma and Ray decide that they're going to go make a new promise, Don and Gilda decide they're going to go chase after Sonja and Mushika, and Norman decides that he's going to, continue his plan to commit mass genocide. Actually, that stays the same. As for Don and Gilda, they're joined by two of Norman's subordinates, one named Hato, and one named Aisha, and Aisha is so utterly, utterly adorable. I so wish we'd seen her in the anime. I freaking love her. She's such a cool backstory, too. Essentially, she was raised by a demon who treated and loved her like his own daughter, and then Norman came in and murdered her demon daddy because he thought the demon was abusing her, which resulted in Aisha declaring unending vengeance against Norman in a plotline that is never resolved even a little bit, which very, very disappointing. Anyway, Don and Gilda managed to befriend Aisha and her dogs, and then they managed to find Sonja and Mushika. Yay! Only Norman's people are right behind them, and they immediately attack Sonja and Mushika, which is bad. But unfortunately for Norman's people, Sonju is way, way, way stronger than they expected, and he's easily able to kick all their butts. And then Don and Gilda find out that Norman's planning on attacking the capital and killing all the royals and nobles, which, is going to be very, very bad since they actually kind of, need the nobles or some form of government to negotiate with once they create peace between the two species. So they rush off to the capital. And while that's going on, Emma and Ray perform a blood ritual underneath the full moon in order to open a gateway to another dimension where they're transported back to Gracefield, turned into children, encounter Isabella, who's been turned into a walking skeleton, and then Ray becomes an old man wandering through the desert without any memories. I am not joking. I am not joking whatsoever. All of that actually happens in the manga. It gets super, super weird. Thankfully, though, Emma's able to figure out the truth behind the Seven Walls, with the answer being up, down, left, right, forward, backwards, and time. Those are the 7 cardinal barriers, pillars, walls, essentially, that frame reality. And by altering one's mindset, it's possible to overcome them and essentially warp reality itself with the power of thoughts. I think. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure exactly what happened here. No one really is entirely sure what happened here. But my best guess is that this is a metaphor for overcoming destiny itself, which is a key theme throughout this entire series. So them managing to warp reality with their minds, the same as them managing to overcome their destiny of being food, I think. Anyway, then Emma manages to get a meeting with the One, while Ray gets kicked out because he's not worthy for some reason. And then we get a flashback to the founder of the Ratchet Clan, the person who made the first promise all those centuries ago. And up to this point in the series, he's been depicted as this wise sage, a hero, a man among men who saved the world. Yeah, not so much. He was a coward who was afraid of dying in battle, so he sold out all his comrades, the demons, that he could make the promise. And when it actually came time to make the promise, both sides had to give up something. They had to pay a price. Something decided upon by the One. The demons were asked to give up the best of their harvest every year because demons are so greedy, that's what they want above all else. And for Petey, Petey went into this thinking, okay, he's gonna ask for my life, he's gonna want to kill me. I don't care, just do it, just get over with. I just want this to be over. But instead, he's told that he will become the gatekeeper, guarding the barrier between the human and the demon world for the rest of his life, and for the rest of the life of all his children. He will never be able to escape, not from the friends he abandoned, nor from his destiny. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. And so then the time comes for Emma to give up something herself, for Emma to pay a price as well, the thing she values most of all. And we don't actually get to find out what that is until the second to last chapter, so she just goes back to the demon world to meet up with Ray so they can go try and stop Norman from committing mass genocide and mass regicide, killing the royal family. Norman, meanwhile, has already started his attack on the capital, spreading the poison and attacking the queen and the 5 heads of the noble families, though not directly. He gets help from another demon, a demon named Gillen, who used to be one of the 5 heads of the noble families, but was exiled because he was too nice. Yeah, he was exiled for being too nice and too good to the peasants. So he's come back and he's way crazier and way more focused on revenge, not just against the queen, but against the other 4 noble families who didn't, have his back then. And his revenge is pretty freaking amazing. Essentially, he has his subordinates eat the family members of the nobles and then pretend to be their family. Just so they can, turn around and stab them in the back. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. That's good revenge. That's good revenge right there. And Gillen's time in exile certainly has not been for waste. He's certainly been practicing, as he's easily able to kill all the other noble demons very, very easily. But when it comes to the queen, yeah, he gets his butt kicked. He gets his butt kicked badly, and is killed quite easily. Thankfully, though, this is all part of Norman's plan, as he just wanted to weaken and exhaust the queen, so that Zazie could come in and deliver the finishing blow and kill her. Yay! And then Emma and Ray show up to tell Norman he doesn't have to, declare war anymore, commit mass genocide anymore, because they've created peace. They can have peace now. But they get there a little too late, as Norman is literally surrounded by a sea of corpses. Which is bad. Emma and Ray are then very, very easily able to convince Norman to stop his plans for mass genocide, despite the fact that he's already wiped out the demon's entire government, essentially. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this was done so much better in the anime when Norman actually had to face the consequences of his actions, where he actually had to see what the poison he created was doing, actually had to see innocent demons suffering in pain and agony, trying to defend their family members who had been turned feral. It was done so much better, so much more emotional in the anime. I freaking loved it. It was probably my favorite scene in the entire anime, just because it was done so much better than the manga. And as for the fact that they're all dying because of lambda seizures, turns out Adam is the cure. Remember Adam mentioned back when I was talking about Goldie Pond? Well, he was also a lambda test subject, and despite that, in the 2 years they've known him, he's never once had a lambda seizure, meaning that his blood might hold the key to figuring out a way to cure the rest of them. And I do think that's definitely done better in the anime, where it's like, we might be able to use him to probably find a cure, instead of the anime where it's like, hey, they just happen to have the cure in this pen cap that we just happen to find. They just happen to be given to us by the one demon that just happened to have found the one human who just happened to have it. God, that was bad writing. But whatever, they have the cure, they have the new promise, now they can just, leave the capital and go figure out what to do next. Unfortunately, the queen stands back up because, yeah, she's not dead. And what happens next can only be described as the most nightmare-inducing thing I've ever seen in manga, as we then see Sister Crone's head pop up out of the queen's arm, and it is then followed up by a whole bunch of other heads, including a whole bunch of Emma and Ray's siblings, who were all eaten by the queen. And then the queen pops up and she don't got no face. Yeah, weird. Very, very weird. But anyway, it turns out the queen and some of the royals have a second core, which essentially means they can survive being killed once. and then she consumes everything in the room around her, which makes her even stronger than she was before. Which, is very, very bad, especially since Zazie is weak and injured, and, they can't actually put up a good fight against her. But thankfully, the cavalry has arrived as Sonju and Mujiko show up. And it's revealed that Sonju is, in fact, the little brother of the queen. Yeah, Sonju is apparently next in line for the throne, which, interesting. Very, very interesting. Anyway, then the queen dies. Not because anything that Sonju and Mujiko do, but simply because she literally ate so much that her core collapsed. She literally died from gluttony, which is a very fitting ending for her, and I like that. Anyway, then they all say their goodbyes, and Emma says, Sonju, I wouldn't mind being eaten by someone like you. And unbeknownst to Emma, that's the only reason why Sonju doesn't actually murder her and eat her right then and there. Oh, I love it. Emma is just too precious to be eaten. It's so freaking adorable. Anyway, as for Sonju and Mujiko, they need to figure out how to create a new government before total anarchy and panic hits. And their plan for that is to go find the high priest who put himself in basically a coma when the promise was first made all those centuries ago and make him the new king. Unfortunately, though, by the time they get him and come back, a whole new government has already been created by Petey. Gotta love that man's just determination, seriously. He made himself a new king of the demons. Oh, I love it. Despite the fact that he's essentially food to them, he has taken control of the entire demon government and has made everyone his puppets. And then all the people that Mujika saved with her blood in the capital are executed, which, bummer, definitely a bummer. And then Mujika's about to be executed, except Grand Duke Luvis shows back up. Yay! Yeah, it turns out he also had a second core, just like the queen, who was his sister. And he tells everyone, okay, listen up. We've all lied to you. Her blood isn't actually evil. She's not actually evil. She was trying to save us all. And, we lied because we were really freaking greedy. And we should probably get rid of the farm system and make her our new queen. And everybody agrees with that fairly quickly. So Mujika is made the new queen. Yay! And, Grand Duke Luvis' reason for doing this, it's definitely a little hard to tell. But I think the best I can come up with is he was just really ticked off that Petey, a human, decided to make himself a new demon king, and his pride and honor wouldn't allow that to happen. Emma, Ray, and Norman, meanwhile, go back to the base and find that everyone's missing because they were all kidnapped and taken back to Gracefield, where they're about to be shipped out and sold as food. Oh no! Which leads to an absolutely freaking amazing infiltration of Gracefield, was so awesome. And eventually, they all manage to get their guns pointed at Petey. Yay! But then the sisters show up and have their guns pointed at everyone else. Oh no! But then Isabella shows up and points her gun at Petey, and everyone else points their gun at Petey. Yay! Isabella betrayed Petey. Which really, should not have been all that much of a surprise, but it was still just an absolutely amazing moment. We get this freaking great shot. Emma looks around at the sisters and doesn't see them as sisters. She sees them as farm children, just like her, because, they were bound to the same destiny she was. They've lived the same life she did, essentially, and now they're fighting back against this same destiny that has bound them together so harshly. I freaking love that shot, and I wish we'd seen that in the anime. Petey then more or less commits suicide and dies, and Emma goes to reunite with Phil and throws down her gun, hugs him, embraces him. And we get this great shot with Isabella where she says, now we can just love them, to one of the moms. It's so adorable. Unfortunately, though, good times cannot last, as one of the demons who's working the farms manages to show up and tries to eat as many kids as he can before the farms shut down. Which, is bad, especially because Emma threw down her gun and now can't defend herself. Thankfully, though, her mama is still there, and Isabel manages to save her by, getting impaled by the demon, which, oh, that's bad. Yeah, she dies. Yeah, Isabel dies in the manga, surrounded by her children, who all tell her how much they love her in her final moments. And I'm honestly not sure which Isabel ending I like better. I mean, Ray was right, Isabella wants to make amends. She can do that in the human world by being a mother to the children there, by defending them, by looking after them, by taking care of them as a true mother in the human world. But, this utter self-sacrifice for the sake of saving her child's life in the manga, it just also feels so appropriate. I really like that. So I'm not sure which one I like better there. Anyway, then they go to the bottom of Gracefield, and they find the doorway to the human world. They all go through, the promise is fulfilled. All the other farm children are teleported to the human world as well, and they find themselves on the shore of the Statue of Liberty. And they're told that in the 2020s, there was some massive, natural disasters, pandemics, wars that wiped out a good chunk of the Earth's population, which, that's concerning. It's definitely concerning. But then afterwards, all the countries got together and basically said, yeah, we should probably do something about that. And they got rid of the concept of nations, and they united together, basically creating world peace, which, best possible scenario. And they're all happy and smiling, and they look around like, hey, we did it, Emma. And they realize, where's Emma? Yeah, it turns out Emma didn't, teleport in with the rest of them, and they can't find her, even though they spend the next 2 years looking for her. Eventually, though, they do find her, after Ray is guided by the ghosts of Connie, Isabella, and Yugo For the last time, I am not joking. The manga does get kind of crazy. And, they're all happy and smiling. They're embracing her like, Emma, it's you. Emma, it's you. We missed you so much. And Emma's response is, who are you people? Yeah, as it turns out, the cost of Emma making the promise was her memories of all her family members and being told that she would never be able to find them again. Oh, I mean, that hurt. That really, really hurts. But Emma, not only did she accept that without any issue, she thanked the one. She thanked him for making a deal like that where her family could still, be happy and healthy and live together, even if it was without her. And, he was utterly taken aback by just this level of selflessness she had. And I've always kind of speculated that the reason why Emma was even able to find her family at all, why they were able to find her, despite his best efforts, was because he allowed it to happen, because he was so touched by her generosity and selflessness that he decided to be nice to her. He decided to lend her a helping hand here. At least that's the best I can think of. But, Emma's really freaked out by all these people who are talking to her, and eventually Norman manages to calm everyone down and, goes on this monologue about everyone's living their new lives in the human world. Anna's studying to become a doctor. Everyone else is, living their own lives, doing their own things. And, eventually Emma's like, I wanted to meet you. I feel like I wanted to meet you, and I want to live with you people. And we end with the tagline, screw destiny, which, oh, so utterly, utterly poignant for this series. Though it does leave a lot of questions left unanswered, because Emma hasn't actually been living by herself for the last 2 years. She's been living with this old man that the community nicknamed Santa Claus, who saved her when she teleported into the blizzard by herself. And, his story is basically he's been living near the burned down remnants of his village all these years after it was destroyed in the big war and everyone was killed, unable to move on, unable to move past that painful moment in his past. So it doesn't seem like he'd be willing to, leave all that behind and travel with Emma to live with her family. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like Emma's the kind of person who would abandon her grandfather, and choose to go meet with her new family members who she knows nothing about. So very, very curious about that. I mean, I'm still waiting for some sort of epilogue for the series that explains what happened after, Emma reunited with her family. What happened to the old man, what she ended up doing, what she ended up becoming, what happened to all of them. And we get a very brief epilogue of all the characters when Norman does his whole little ranting speech, but it's basically like, oh, that's what they're starting to do. Sislo's an athlete, Anna's a doctor, blah, blah, blah. I'd like some more in depth, especially about the main characters. I mean, what's Don, Gilda, Emma, Ray, Norman going to be up to? What's their professions going to be moving forward? I'm very, very curious about that. And also, what happened to Aisha's plan for revenge against Norman? I know that was a very small part of the story, but I loved Aisha so much. I just want to see what happened next with her. And so, yeah, it's basically everything the anime cut out from the manga, and oh, my throat hurts. My throat really, really hurts at this point, and I want to be done talking now, so please, anything else down below. What'd you think of the storyline for the manga? What'd you think of it compared to the anime? Is there anything you would have changed? I'm assuming there's quite a bit everyone watching this would have changed for the anime. I mean, a lot of manga readers say it should have just been Goldie Pond. Season 2 should have just been the Goldie Pond storyline, because that's, basically fan favorite. It's probably the best arc after the escape arc, and I think it would have been an absolutely amazing story if that had been told that way. I'm not really sure why they decided to rush through and try to get to the ending, even though they had nowhere near enough time to explain it properly. It's so, so weird. But yeah, let me know down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to this video. Until then,